Hare Krishna, Shivani Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru and Gauranga ki jai. Thank you so much for joining this mid-morning session and giving a beautiful association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It's Neetu from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna Neetu Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru and Gauranga ki jai. Thank you so much for joining this mid-morning session and giving a beautiful association this morning, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shivani Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Preethi Vilasini from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preethi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru and Gauranga ki jai. Thank you so much for joining and giving a beautiful association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Is my volume audible? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Mataji.
Clear, right? There's no problem?
No problem, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Preethi Vilasini Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru and Gauranga ki jai. Thank you so much for joining and giving a beautiful association this morning. Hare Krishna. Is there anybody else who would like to announce their name? Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I welcome you all to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call for this mid-morning session. Today we are very fortunate to have her Grace Preethi Vilasini Mataji. Mataji will be enlightening us on Sri Caitanya Bhagavata, Khanda, chapter 7, verse 1 onwards. Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time and wonderful association this morning. We are looking fortunate and eagerly waiting to hear from you. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru and Gauranga ki jai. Please take over the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Shivani Mataji. If there are any issues with my voice or if something goes away, just let me know and I can log in from a different device.
Sure, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So thank you all so much for joining us today. And we are continuing our study of Sri Caitanya Bhagavata. And this is Adi Khanda and chapter 7. So that's what we're doing now. And I thank all the devotees for the very beautiful chanting and your very wonderful association on the call today. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you all so much for your wonderful association. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jayati Jayati Deva Krishna Chaitanya Chandro, Jayati Jayati Kirti Tasya Nitya Pavitra, Jayati Jayati Bhritya Tasya Vishveshvamurti, Jayati Jayati Nrutyam Tasya Sarva Priyanam. All glory unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya Chandra, all glory unto his eternal and pure excellences. All glory unto the servants of the supreme controller of the universe. All glory unto the dancing of his loving devotees. Sri Caitanya Bhagavata, Adi Khanda, chapter 1, verse number 5. I'll share my screen and then we can get started. Okay, so we are in the Adi Khanda, and this is chapter 7, verse number 61 onwards. And the chapter is entitled Shri Vishwarupa takes sannyas. So Vishwarupa is, shall we keep it interactive? So who's Vishwarupa?
Brother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
The elder brother of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So first, Vishwarupa is going to take sannyas, and then later, of course, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ends up taking sannyas. So let's see what happened as they were growing up, okay? So Nimai and his brother, they were growing up in Navadvip, and Vishwarup started exhibiting very great symptoms of renunciation, and everyone who saw Vishwarup felt that he was very special. At the same time, everyone who saw Nimai, little Nimai, they saw there is something extra special about him, and they would wonder, who's this child? I mean, every time I see him, I get stunned looking at this child. So let's see what was happening in Navadvip, continuing from our previous session. E Navadvipete dhikila sarvajane tatapiha kehana janila bhakta vainaye. Although everyone saw the Lord in Navadvip, no one could recognize him other than his devotees. So this is something that is very important. So the people in Navadvip, only the people who had bhakti, who were devotional, could actually recognize that there is something very special with little Nimai. Not everyone could understand. Just like how when Krishna was present here, there were many people who did not understand the greatness of Krishna. They were just thinking Krishna as an ordinary man. The example is given of that of Duryodhan. So when Duryodhan, he saw that Krishna was capable of performing many miracles, he was just considered Krishna as a magician. He never accepted that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He just thought, oh, this Krishna, he's slightly better than me. You know, because many people had several opulences at that time. They had different high levels of mystic powers. So he was thinking, oh, this Krishna has a little more mystic powers than the others. So they're considering him to be very special. So they consider him as an ordinary human being, right? So that is what happens when mudhas, when ignorant people see the Lord. So that's why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, anyone knows that verse where he chastises mudhas?
Avajananti mamura manushim tanumashita param bhavamajananta mama bhuta maheshwara.
Excellent. Thank you, Mataji, for always shooting out verses. So, avajananti mamudha manushim tanumashratam. So, fools, they think that I'm an ordinary human being just because I've taken the body of a human being, right? Krishna comes and he does Naralila. He behaves like a human being, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is what he's doing. He's doing Naralila. So what do people think? They think he's an ordinary human being. Even to this day, everyone thinks he's an ordinary saint, right? So why is that so? Because we are covered. We have that layer of avidya. We have that ignorance that is covering us. And because of our pride, actually, it's a level of pride. You know, we cannot accept when we say the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that to face. Today, it's okay. But imagine the people at that time, they were seeing the Lord face to face. So when you see the Lord face to face and you still don't recognize that he's something different, he's something special, then there is a problem. The problem is envy. So here, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says, what is the problem? What is the problem? Actually, he says, Bhakti, it is the eternal propensity of the soul and it is present in everyone's heart. So, Jivera Swaruphoye Krishnira Nityadhas, right? So, we are all eternal servants of Krishna. That is the natural propensity. This servitude or this understanding that I'm subservient to the Lord, I am a part and parcel of the Lord, is actually embedded within the soul. It is the identity of the soul. It is the dharma of the soul. It is the intrinsic property of the soul. But what happens? Sometimes it gets covered. Like, for example, there is a mirror. So when there is dust covering on the mirror, can you see your image clearly in the mirror? Can you see your reflection? No, because there is dust. Because there is dust, there is no clarity. So this avidya has covered the heart, right? So we are not able to understand that our Nitya Swarupa is actually being a servant, Nitya Das, that we are not able to understand. So what should we do? We have to cleanse that heart. And what is the formula given to cleanse the heart? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaks that in the first verse of Sikshashtakam. Anyone wants to take a try?
Darpanamarjanam Bhavamahadava Ninirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandambudivarta Pratipada Purnamruta Swadanam. I don't know, Mataji, I'm getting confused at the end.
That's okay. Sarvatmasna Param Param Vijayate.
Sri Krishna Sankirtanam.
So the formula for cleansing the dust in the mirror is actually Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So as and when we clean up the heart like that, through Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, the dust is removed and our eternal identity, the natural propensity of the living entity is awakened. So this is dormant in the heart, but it has to be awakened, and that's why especially we are asked to chant. Now there are so many processes: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedam. There's a big list, right? So then, yes, even with one process, one may perfect their lives, one may perfect devotion. But why so much emphasis on chanting? Because our Acharya has explained, chanting is the thing that is going to sustain even the other processes. And chanting can be done very easily wherever you are. You don't need any external medium for it. Like for Shravanam, which is actually my favorite, but still, we need to be dependent on several things. Either we have to be dependent on scripture that is present at some time. We need a book, or we may need Veda base, or we may have to listen from someone who is giving us knowledge, or someone who is speaking Shastra. Shabda Praman, right? We talk about Shabda Praman, receiving knowledge, that is correct. But we need someone, we have to be dependent on someone who can give us that knowledge continuously, who can speak Harikatha continuously. Chanting, Prabhupada says, you just need a tongue and you can chant. Even if you are dumb, still, dumb means not able to talk, you can chant in your mind. So, even if you cannot chant in your mind, if your mind is not all right, still you can still hear the vibration, the sound, the vibration, right? So chanting is sort of independent in one way, and it is easy to perform, and also it gives the highest perfection. Of course, one may argue that it is not easy to perform because it requires attention, which is very difficult to give. Because Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, first he tells mananatmika, one must try to do, in 12th chapter he says, one must try to do devotional service with the mind. Chanting with them, when you say chanting, obviously your mind should be very attentive, but more 99% of the time our mind is not attentive. But then he gives a formula. Okay, if you cannot engage your mind, at least engage your intelligence. Okay, try to read Shastra, learn from Shastra and apply it in your mind. Like that he goes on, so that we can perfect chanting eventually. That is the idea. But anyway, both Shravanam and Kirtanam, 90% of the time they go hand in hand. But Kirtanam, or chanting the holy names, can even remain independent. Okay? So this Sankirtanam, which is very emphasized in our Sampradaya, that is the process of cleansing the heart. So what are we cleansing our heart from? We are cleansing our heart from all propensities for karma and jnana. So Srila Rupa Goswami, he says, jnana karmadi anavritam, right? That is the definition of pure bhakti. Pure bhakti means one should remove the propensities for both karma and jnana. So everything should be removed and pure devotion should be awakened. For this pure devotion to be awakened, to identify who we are, to revive our eternal identity, what do we need to do? We need to chant the holy names. So having understood this, okay, this point through this particular verse, let's get back to the story. Although everyone saw the Lord in Navadvip, no one could recognize him other than the devotees. So even the devotees, since he's a Channa avatar, he's a covered avatar, they could understand there is something special. Maybe he's the Supreme Lord. But still, the Lord, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was he did not want to reveal his identity so openly like how Krishna did. He was still playing the role of like a common human being so that he could spread this Harinama Sankirtan. So that was his agenda. So he did not openly claim, oh, I am the Supreme Lord. So that was his mood, and that was his mission. So this is what was happening in Navadvip. Now I'll tell one small story about how, this quality of servitude is natural propensity in everyone's heart, and this has to be very clearly understood. We are very grateful to our Acharya Srila Prabhupada and the knowledge that is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita by the mercy of Sriman Mahaprabhu, that Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. This is embedded in our heart, at least knowledge wise. We know intellectually, we have heard a million times, so we try to apply it so we have a clear idea. I'll tell you one story of what happened 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago, when Sripad Ramanujacharya was writing the Sri Bhashya, it's a commentary on the Vedanta Sutras, he didn't have much resources to substantiate certain points. So he was dependent on certain Vritti Shastras, meaning guideline books and other things. So you must have all heard of the story of how he went to Kashmir and he retrieved the Bodhayana Vritti Grantha, and then he started writing the commentary on the Sri Bhashya. His commentary of the Vedanta Sutras, which is called as the Sri Bhashya. So at that time, once as he was developing the commentary, when he was commenting on certain sections, he had a doubt. What is the primary property of the soul? This was the doubt, because when he was giving his explanation based on the Visishtadvaita philosophy, he had to establish that every jiva is always dependent on the Lord. Okay, because that is our philosophy. All the Vaishnava philosophies is that every jiva is eternally dependent on the Lord, and they especially focus on Sharira Shariri Bhava, meaning that we are all like the bodily parts of the Lord, or rather we are all dependent on the Lord. Just like how the hand cannot function independently without the body, similarly we jivas, we should have the propensity of servitude, and without servitude we cannot really exist. So that is the idea. Now he had a doubt when he was commenting on a few aphorisms. He had a doubt. What was the doubt? The doubt was, what is the actual identity of the soul? Is it jnanatvam, meaning is it being full of knowledge, chit, right? Sachit ananda, we say. So chit, okay, that knowledge, is it jnanatvam or is it seshatvam? Seshatvam means the propensity to serve. Dasatvam, seshatvam, both are the same. So he had this doubt because he had to, draw different instances, and he had to comment, and there was a lot of work. So, but he had this primary doubt. So he sent his disciple Kuresh to go to Goshtipurna. Goshtipurna is one of the Pancha Acharyas of Sripad Ramanujacharya, the Acharya who gives him the Namo Narayana mantra, right? So Kuresh is sent there to go and get these details. Usually in those days, everything was not easily accessible. So they had to take some efforts. They had to go to a different village by walk, and then they had to serve the person there, serve the Acharya there, and then get answers. Today in a phone call, you can call your representative of your spiritual master and then connect you with your spiritual master and get your answers, very pressing answers. Or you can contact some senior devotee and get an answer. But in those days, it was not so straightforward. Okay, it took some effort. So Kuresh, he goes all the way to Goshtipurna's place. And it is not easy to get answers from Goshtipurna, because Goshtipurna had always tested his disciples or his followers before he gave out anything. So Kuresh goes there and he begins to serve Goshtipurna, because what does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? How do you get answers from your guru? Anyone wants to tell? Mataji, you want to tell the verse?
Tatvidhi pranipatena.
Yes, thank you both. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. So what should you do? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So you should go and serve. So now Kureshi goes and he serves for months together, almost 6 months. He's serving in the house of Goshtipurna. He has a question in his heart. Goshtipurna knows the question and he's not ready to give the answer, because he wants to see how much Kuresh is going to be dedicated in service. Okay. So after 6 months, finally, our Kuresh, he goes and asks Goshti Purna, I have a question in my mind. I want to ask you that question. Then Goshti Purna, he smiles and he says, have you forgotten the teachings of the Alvars? And he sends him. He doesn't give the answer straightforward. He just says, have you forgotten the teaching of the Alvars? You've been here for 6 months, he says. That means what he indicates is, you can now go, he says. That's all. He doesn't even give the answer. But the answer should be understood. Because Kuresh was there in Goshti Purna's house for 6 months. What was he doing? He was doing service. And what is the teaching of the Alvars? Alvars always teach that one should always be engaged in the service of the Lord. So that is the primary quality of the Jiva. It is not Jnanatvam is there, meaning everyone is cognizance is there for the soul. But what supersedes, what is the greatest quality? If you ask, that is our Seshatvam, or our servitude is the primary aspect of the soul, and that is openly given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jive Risvarapai Krishnera Nityadas. So that's why you see in this commentary, one must awaken, because this is the eternal propensity of the living entities, servitude. So one must awaken that service to Krishna, which is dormant. How are we awakening it? By cleansing our heart by doing Harinam Sankirtan. Therefore, as you cleanse the heart, even the propensity for karma and jnana goes away. So just keeping jnana will not help much. You should also remove jnana and further proceed and have service attitude. That's why service of the Lord is found only in persons who have this service attitude. So one must develop this, consciously develop this service attitude. So unless we serve, we can do 100 things. Sometimes we say, oh, giving class is a service. Yes, it is. It is a service. But you must also serve. Like yesterday, we were hearing from Ram Giridhari Prabhu. Service without recognition. That is very important. Very, very important. We can do big service, small service, medium service, anything. That is fine. You can do menial service, but still service without recognition is real service. If I am yearning for recognition, then that is not really considered quote unquote service. It's a good thing. It's a way up, but service without recognition. I mean, I'm not telling you I have it just because I'm saying it, but we are all trying. We are all trying together. So all of us can try together to develop service without recognition. This is actually the takeaway from yesterday's class. I'm just repeating that. We'll proceed. Bhakti rase chitta prabhu hare sarvathaya viharaye navadvipe vaikuntera raya. Vaikuntera Rai. So the Lord of Vaikunta, he was in Navadvip. And what was he doing? He was attracting the hearts of whom? All the devotees. And he enjoyed his pastimes in Navadvip. Mohiya sabara chitta prabhu vishwambhara agraje laila chalilina nija ghara. Thus, after enchanting everyone's heart, Lord Vishwambhar returned home with his elder brother. So actually, little Nimai had gone to bring his brother, right? So Vishwambhar is the elder brother, and Vishwambhar is the younger brother, and Vishwarup is the elder brother. So both of them, they returned home. So when everyone saw the little boy Vishwambhara or Nimai, they were all enchanted. Mane mane Chintaye Advaita Mahasaya Prakrita Manusha Kabuye Balakanaya. Sri Advaita Prabhu, he is a devotee, of course, right? So he considered to himself, this boy is not an ordinary person. Which boy? Little Nimai. Sarva Vaishnavira Prati Baliya Advaita Kona Vastu Ye Balaka Najani Nishchita. Then Advaita said to the Vaishnavas, I don't know what sort of boy he is. Right? Yeah, when we read the pastimes of Krishna, when we read the pastimes of Nimai, these are all uncommon. When we see the beauty of the Lord or when we hear about the Lord, we can easily discover that these are uncommon pastimes. And this boy itself is uncommon. So Advaita Acharya is making a comment here. I don't know what sort of boy he is. There is something very special about him. Sometimes we see devotees and we make these comments, right? So imagine if you're making this compliment or a comment to a devotee child, or to any devotee, something is special about this person. So you can imagine how intensified it should be when the Supreme Lord is present in front of you. प्रशमिष्टे लागिलेन सर्वभक्तगण अपूर्वसि शूररूपलावण्यकथना. All the devotees then began to praise the beauty and charm of this wonderful child. So this child is Apurva Sishu. He is a unique child. Apurva is unique. And Rupa Lavanya. He was looking very, very effulgent and very beautiful. नाम मात्र विश्वरूपा चलिलेन घरे पुनः आइलेन शीघ्र अद्वैत मंदिरे. Vishwarupa returned home simply out of formality, and then as soon as possible he returned to Advaita's house. So now the focus is about the life of Vishwarup, who is the elder brother. So what had happened to him? Did he take sannyas? What was his activities? That is what we're going to see in the rest of our class. So Vishwarup, the background is that he would regularly go to Advaita Acharya's house, and they would perform Harinam Sankirtan, and they would listen to Harikatha, and they would spend their time in Krishna consciousness. So Vishwarup really enjoyed going to Advaita Acharya's house because that is where he felt that he's doing something useful. Okay, so because he was naturally attracted to Krishna and he was not attracted to anything mundane in this world. So he would spend a lot of time in Advaita Acharya's house. And simply out of formality, from time to time, when his mother would call him for lunch, he would come, or when he had duties to perform, he would come. So only out of formality, he would just come home. But even after he came home, what did he do? That is what is going to, we are going to find out soon. Nabhaya samsara sukha vishwarupa mane niravadi thake Krishna ananda kirtane. The desire for material enjoyment never ever appeared in the mind of Vishwarupa. He constantly remained in the ecstasy of chanting Krishna's name. So that's what he kept doing. And what did he do in his house if he had to go for a break? What would he do? Grihe aile o grihe vyabharana kare niravadi thake Vishnu grihera bhitare. Even when he was home, he never engaged in household activities. Rather, he always stayed in the temple room. So these are all signs of a person who was not really interested in family life or material affairs. So even after he returned home, he would just perform what is required, and immediately he would go and sit in the temple room. So when it says Vishnu Graha, it means the temple room. Everyone has a little corner, a temple corner, right? A little place for your deity. So that is Vishnu Graha. That region is the Vishnu Graha. And traditionally in India, in the Brahmanas' homes, they would keep a separate room. Okay, now we don't have the luxury. We all live in little apartments with a single bedroom and a very small space. So we keep everything together. But maybe if there are bigger homes, of course, you always keep a temple room, right? Most devotees, they have a temple room. Like that, traditionally in India also, these great Brahmanas, they would always keep a separate place for the deity room, and they would worship Lord Narayana in the form of a Shalagram Shila. So that is the most common worship that was present in ancient times. Worshipping the Lord in Shalagram Shilas was prevalent at homes. So like that, we have also heard in the earlier chapters that in the house of Jagannath Mishra, there was Shalagram Shila, right? So like that, this Narayana Shalagram Shila was present, and Vishwarupa, Vishwarup, his focus all the time was to spend a lot of time in Vishnu Graha doing puja, and he would constantly keep meditating on the Supreme Lord. So that was his common activity. But then you've seen even in the previous story, when we saw the story of Nimai stealing the Brahmana's offerings, at that time what did we see? We saw Vishwarup was already grown up. He was looking very effulgent. He had a youthful body, so he was already grown up. So now that he was already grown up in his house, they wanted to get him married. Ancient times in India, what they would do is they would get the boy and the girl married a little early, not like today when we are actually very old. We become so old that we can't even, we can't deal with anything. That's when we are getting married. But in ancient times, they would get the kids married. I mean, kids, you can't call them kids, but the youth married when they came to an attainable age. So like that, it was time for his marriage. Vivahere udyoga kareye Pita Mata Shuni Vishwarupa Bada Mane Paya Vyata. When his mother and father spoke about arranging his marriage, Vishwarup felt great mental pain. Now, this is the problem. His mind from the beginning was not at all interested in anything other than Krishna consciousness. So when his parents were Mata and Pita, what were they doing? Vivahira Udyoga Karaye. So they began to discuss about getting the child married, about getting Vishwarupa married. It gave a lot of pain to his heart because he clearly felt that was not the purpose of his life. He did not want to get entangled in Grihastha ashram. So he felt great pain and he really wanted to escape the situation. Chabiya samsare vishwa rupa mane bhave chaliya na vane matraye mane jage. Vishwarup thought to himself, I will leave home and go to the forest. So he decides, Chaliyana Vane, I will go to Vana, enough, I don't want this family life. ईश्वरेरा चित्तावृत्ति ईश्वर से जाने विश्वरूप संन्यास खरीला कटदीने. The heart of the Lord is known only to the Lord. Thus, after a few days, Vishwarup left to take sannyas. So this means to say that Vishwarup did not disclose his ideas. Okay, so he decided that this is my mission and this is what I want to do. This is what I want to include in my pastimes. So he decided, I'm going to leave home and I'm going to the forest to take sannyas. The Lord's heart is known only to the Lord. He did not tell anyone else. Jagate vidita nama Sri Shankararanya Chalila Ananta Pate Vaishnava Graganya. Then, after he left home and he took sannyas, he came to be known throughout the world as Sri Shankararanya. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, sometimes Vishwarup is referred as Vishwarup. Sometimes he is called as Sri Shankararanya. In some passages, you will see that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he goes on a South India Yatra, he leaves for a South India Yatra on the pretext of finding Shankararanya Swami, his brother. So then the sannyas name of his brother was Shankararanya. And as he traversed the path of devotional service to Krishna, he came to be celebrated as the topmost Vaishnava. Now, the term Shankararanya itself, you should have guessed that he's actually a sannyasi in the Shankara Sampradaya. So, Vishwarupa, he accepted sannyas in the Shankara Sampradaya, which was very, very prevalent at that time. It is not that Vaishnavas did not give sannyas. Vaishnava sannyasam was also there. It was very much prevalent. But the Shankara Sampradaya sannyasa was more famous and more popular and more widespread. Okay. So Vishwarupa, he accepted sannyas in the Shankara Sampradaya and he came to be famous as the name Sri Shankararanya. Now this last part of the word, Aranya, is one of the surnames or the names, title names you can say, title names of the sannyasis who have received sannyas in the Shankara Sampradaya. Just like you have different, we have discussed these 10 different names, like there are Puri and so many names we have discussed. So there are 10, we have given this list over and over. So the Shankara Sampradaya, they have 10. But however, there is some nice analysis that is presented by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He says that originally in the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, the Vaishnava Sampradaya, called as the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, there were 108 sannyas names, of which these 10 were also included in that 108. But later, some sannyasis, they, they've got diverted from the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, and they were influenced by the Shiva Swamis, and they entered into the Shankara Sampradaya. And they also retained the only 10 names out of the 108 names in the Shankara Sampradaya, or in the Advaita, philosophical thought line in that Sampradaya. They retained 10 sannyas titles. Okay, but originally all these sannyasis and many of these titles, they belong to the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, because the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya housed more than 108 titles of sannyas names, which is also these 10. Okay, I hope you are able to understand what it says. Or if you didn't get what I said, I can even read what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati actually says here. Vishwarupa accepted sannyas in the Shankara Sampradaya and became famous by the name Sri Shankararanya. At that time, there were 10 names for sannyasis being used by the Shankara Sampradaya, even now. Okay, the name Aranya is one of these 10 names. These 10 names for sannyasis were previously used in the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. After these Vishnu Swami sannyasis had a quarrel with the Ekadandi sannyasis from the Shiva Swami Sampradaya, they entered into the Shankara Sampradaya. The original Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, however, there were 108 names used for sannyasis. By the influence of the Shiva Swami Sampradaya, the Vedic sannyasi names were reduced to 10 after the time of Shankaracharya. So after the time of Shankaracharya till now, we know only of 10 different titles used in the Shankara Sampradaya. So now this Vishwarup, he left home, he took sannyas. Where did he take sannyas? He took sannyas in the Shankara Sampradaya, and he came to be known as Shankara Aranya. He got the title Aranya and he lived there. But he specifically at this point, he arrives at Pandaripur. And that is there, of course, you all know where Pandarpur is. It is near Bombay, in the district of Sholapur. And he spent some time there, and finally he takes samadhi in the bank of the river Bhima or Chandrabhaga. So that is where he takes samadhi. And he was a great sannyasi when he was present there in this Pandarpur area. And Pandarpur is famous for the deity of Vitthal, right? We also saw a nice class about Vitthal in our previous Krishna Katha Mela. I think Shama Gauri Mataji, she gave us a lot of description about Pandarpur and Vitthal and this river and all this. So this is where this great saint lived, this Shankararanya lived, and he was a great sannyasi, but he had the mood of a Vaishnava. That was very prominent in his heart. And finally, he takes samadhi there. And while traveling to South India, as I already mentioned, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he specifically goes to Pandarpur to find his brother, because he hears from Sri Rangapuri about Vishwarup's disappearance there. And at that time, Pandarpur was also, it was a famous place for Vaishnavas. Even to this day, there are so many great saints, Vaishnava saints, who have sung several songs in this Bhajana Sampradaya, Nath Sampradaya. There's so many sampradayas there where they do these nice kirtans and all that. So great sages, very, very great saints. And she also covered the different saints from the Pandarpur area and their works. So like this, it is very famous, the Pandarpur temple, the Vitthal temple, and also the followers there. So they are known for doing Sankirtan. So our Vishwarup, he takes samadhi there, and Vishwambhara, who is none other than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, during his South India Yatra, in the pretext of finding his brother, he also comes to this area. So that is about Pandarpur. Chalileya yadi Vishwarupa Mahasaya Mahashaya Shachi Jagannatha Dakta Haila Hridaya. Obviously, as Vishwarup left home, what happened to his parents? They were grief-stricken. Yeah, their heart was broken. Actually, that's what it is. Their heart was completely shattered. They had a son after such a long time. After losing several children, finally they had a gem-like son, and their son left them. Goshti Saha Krandana Karaye Ubayara Bhairava Rache Murcha Gela Gauraraya. And Sri Gauranga also, he cried along with his family members and eventually fell unconscious out of the separation from his brother. Ubhraya means very, very loudly. So that is the transcendental affection that Gaurasundar had for his dear brother. And that is the transcendental affection the Lord has for each and every living entity, which is each one of us as well. Seviraha varnite vandane nahi pari hailakrarandana maya jaganatha puri. I am unable to describe their feelings of separation by which Jagannath Mishra's entire house became inundated with crying. So here, Jagannath Puri, it is mentioned in the verse, right? It says, Seviraha varnite vandane nahi pare hailakrandana maya Jagannatha Puri. This is Jagannath Puri, right? But where were they? They were in Navadvip. But it says Jagannath Puri. Why? Because this is the house of Jagannath Mishra, where all this crying was happening. So Jagannath Puri refers to the house of Jagannath Mishra, which is present in the Yoga Peeth in Sri Mayapur. For those who have visited Mayapur, you must have visited Yoga Peeth, right? So that is the place where all this pastime was happening. Vishwarupa Sanyasa Dekiya Bhakta Gana Advaitadi Sabe Bahu Karila Krandana. Obviously, it was not only, in Jagannath Mishra's house, but everyone, all the Navadvip Vasis were actually, their hearts were shattered, especially great devotees like Advaita and others. They started weeping because they would be losing the association of their great associate, Vishwarup. Vishwarup was so dear to Advaita Acharya's heart. So let's see what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has to say here. He gives us a little description about Navadvip, okay, where this Navadvip area is, how it is referred to, and all that. So he tells us that at the time of Mahaprabhu, Vedic scripture study was very, very prominent in Navadvip. In Navadvip, we all have heard over and over, even in our previous classes, that it was a great center of learning. So various scholars, even from Mithila, which was so famous for studies, they would all come from different directions to get education in Navadvip University. So Navadvip University was very famous during Vedic times. And also Maharishi Panini, who was a great grammarian, who's given us the textbook of grammar in Sanskrit, he also describes this great region as Gaudapura, Gaudadesh, right? Bengal is called as Gaudadesh. So it was a very, very important seat of learning, and people were great scholars. In order to demonstrate that one's material attachment is not destroyed without such study, many personalities headed by Sri Gaurasundar's elder brother Sri Vishwarup accepted sannyas and thus increased the glories of Gaudapur, the center of education at that time. So here we see the brothers, they were hailing from Gaudapura, and what did they do? They took sannyas. So, one may still be very successful in Vedic education. Okay, one may be a great scholar, but one's attachment may not be destroyed just because you're a Vedic scholar. So attachment is something, scholarship is something. Okay, you might be a great Pandit, you might be giving several classes, but you could still be very attached, right? So that is the underlying point. In that time, they were great scholars, they were great people who had, several gurus, big accomplishments, but many people were very attached. We saw that also in the beginning of this chapter. In the previous chapters, we saw how people were very misguided at that point in time in Navadvip. They had so many different attachments and so many ideas about Vedic following. But here, Vishwarup and Vishwambhar, they show us the greatness of Gaudapura, that in spite of it being such a great place for learning, they were able to be detached. Okay. The acceptance of sannyas by Sri Gaurasundar and Sri Purushottam Bhattacharya is mentioned in many Gaudiya devotional scriptures. Apart from them, many other jewel-like scholars like Ishwarapuri, the disciple of Madhavendra, often visited Gaudapur, the center of education. After traveling to holy places with his sannyas guru, Sri Nityananda Prabhu also came to Gaudapur and met Sri Gaura Sundar. The sannyasi disciples of both Keshav Bharati and Sri Madhavendra Puripad illuminated the path of accepting sannyas for members of the Varnashram society. Surrounded by many Mayavad sannyasis, Prakashanand Saraswati and of Kashi simply wasted his time on arguments based on mental speculation. Srimad Prabodhananda Saraswati, a Tridandi sannyasi of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, and other Tridandi paths like Madhvacharya accepted Tridandi sannyas and engaged in the service of Lord Hari and practiced in the line of the original Sarvagnya Vishnu Swami. In the Varnashram society of that time, respect and honor was offered to sannyasi by all communities. Later on, the Dari sannyasis or the fake sannyasis engaged in the Panchamarka, like eating fish and meat and drinking wine, and thus brought defamation and harm to the principles of sannyas order. This is certainly a matter of great concern. In order to check the degradation, the pure Gaudiya devotees have now reintroduced the process of Tridanda Sannyas, which was more recently present in the world by name only and thus bestowed happiness and great. So I want a great auspiciousness onto the community of the Vaishnavas. Okay, so I just want to speak a little more about what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is trying to drive here. So first of all, he tells us about the greatness of Gaudadesh. Okay, so he tells us that Gaudadesh is a place that was a big, great seat of learning. Of course, it was a great seat of learning, and different people, though many of them were materially attached, but some of them also took sannyas, and the people like Vishwarup and Vishwambhar are especially described here. Now, besides that, he also talks about various other sannyasis who had some connection with Gaudadesh. Okay, either they were hailing from there, or they visited there, or they stayed there. So a list of sannyasis is also presented here for our acceptance, that these were all great sannyasis. And now a question may be raised. Many of them were Ekadandi sannyasis, right? Meaning Ekadanda sannyasi means following the Shankara Sampradaya, Eka, Advaitam. So, but however, these great sannyasis in their heart of hearts, though externally they accepted Ekadanda, internally they were great Vaishnavas, okay? So the sannyasi disciples of both Keshava Bharati and Sri Madhavendra Puri, they accepted sannyas. They all accepted sannyas, but they were Vaishnavas in heart. But whereas people like Prakashananda Saraswati in Kashi, whom Chaitanya Mahaprabhu later meets in his Leela, he was an Ekadandi sannyasi, but what did he do? He was not a Vaishnava in his heart. He was just spending his time in meaningless mental speculations and arguments. Okay. So now there was a situation where there were a bunch of Ekadandi sannyasis, and among those Ekadandi sannyasis, some were very Vaishnavite in heart, others were wasting their time in arguments and mental speculation. Now there were also another set of Tridandi sannyasis from the Ramanuja Sampradaya and Madhvacharya Sampradaya. So from there also there were some Tridandi sannyasis. So both were existing, but however, from Gaudadesh, what happened? Many people took Ekadanda sannyas because it was more prevalent, right? Now, what happened with time is that eventually it so happened that there came more Dari sannyasis. Dari sannyasis are like fake sannyasis, meaning sannyasis who do not follow the strict Varnashram rules of a sannyasi. What did they start doing? They started eating fish and meat, and they started drinking wine. So they brought problem to the sannyas order, and slowly lot of the opinion on Gauda sannyasis eventually started degrading because of some people. It always happens in any society, right? There could be some miscreants, but that entire group is blamed for that. This is very common everywhere. One person does a mistake, that entire team is, defamed, right? So like that. So there was a lot of, infiltration of many wrongdoers. So at that time, what happened? There was a lot of cleaning up that was needed. So the advocacy of Tridanda Sannyasa took forth, meaning people started taking it more seriously, and it was more introduced recently. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he also gave Tridanda Sannyas, right, to Srila Prabhupada. I mean, of course, Prabhupada's Sannyas Guru gave that. But still, he introduced that. Recently, it was introduced within the Gaudiya Vaishnavas as well, Tridandi Sannyas. So now we strictly adhere to Tridanda Sannyas. That is what we always take. And you all know, Tridanda is Vaishnava and Ekadanda is Advaita. So like this, slowly the sannyas orders started changing within this region. And now we just saw in the previous verses that Jagannath Mishra, Shachi Mata, and even Gaurasundar, they were all crying and lamenting. Even Advaita Prabhu, even he was also lamenting. So one may ask, oh, they are all great transcendental saintly people. Why are they lamenting like this? So one should understand that it was not some sort of a mundane attachment that a householder may have, but they were feeling that separation. They were feeling that separation from this great devotee who had left them. So they were feeling very, very bad. And there was this tears of lamentation is not something mundane, but these are tears of ecstasy of the devotees who are fond of sannyasis and who serve the lotus feet of Mukunda. And the lamentation that one may feel in a mundane level and the lamentation that these devotees feel cannot be compared. They are not on the same level as what? Another clarification that is being made by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Uttama madhyama yesho nila nadiya hina nahi yesho niya dukha nahi paya. Everyone in Nadia who heard about this incident, whether ordinary or exalted devotee, all felt unhappy. Of course, their little child, he's left them and gone, so they are feeling unhappy. But they understand he has gone to take shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda. Jagannath Shachira Vidirna Hai Bhuka Nirantara Dhake. Okay. Jagannath Shachira Vidirna Haya Bhuka Nirantara Dhake Vishwarupa. Vishwarupa Putra Shoke Mishra Chandra Haila Vihavala Prabodha Karai Bandhu Bandhva Sakala. Jagannath Mishra and Shachi Devi were both heartbroken, and they continuously cried out, Vishwaroop, Vishwaroop. Sri Mishra was overwhelmed with lamentation for his son, and friends and relatives, they all tried to pacify him. So this is the affection that parents have for their children. It doesn't matter, whether you're a devotee mother or a person who has no idea of Krishna consciousness. A mother is a mother, right? A father is a father. The affection is very, very, Prabhupada also says, it is on the level of almost, like in the spiritual world, we talk about love, and in the material world, we talk about lust. But the mother's love for a child is almost like pure love, right? That is the purest form of love that is seen in the material world. So the parents, they have a very, they always feel pain when their child has to undergo a lot of pain. So that is what is happening here. So they were lamenting, thinking that their child will be suffering. So that was the mood of their lamentation. And they felt very, very bewildered, understanding that Vishwarup has taken sannyas, and he's going to undergo all these sufferings, and he'll be bereft of material enjoyment. So this is a general feeling that they had. But however, the people around them, they were trying to pacify both Jagannath Mishra and Shachi Deva, giving some very important insights. Now here, at in this particular section, we are going to see how it is very important that when we are practicing bhakti, bhakti with understanding bhakti in an intelligent way. I won't say this jnana is the jnana that the impersonalists follow. It's a different kind of knowledge. Knowledge is very important. Reading scriptures becomes very important in one's life when one has to sustain one's bhakti. In the first part of the class, what did we see? We saw that chanting is very important to sustain your devotional service. You may be doing all devotional services, but 16 rounds is very important, because that 16 rounds is going to hold up the rest of your services and make you strong. It is going to sustain the rest of your activities. Now we are going to see the other side of the coin, that how knowledge is also very important. Now, what sort of knowledge? Knowledge that feeds bhakti. Okay, so this bhakti has to be fed, just like for a plant to grow, you need sunshine, you also need water, right? So which is the basis? Yeah, water is the basis to a great extent, but sunshine, the correct amount of sunlight is also important for perfect growth. So now we are going to see hereafter how there is some amount of reading or knowledge, bhakti oriented knowledge, that becomes very important to sustain even your even your practices, which also includes taste for chanting. Okay, so now we are going to slowly diverge a little bit. It might appear contradictory, but we'll harmonize everything together. Okay, so now let's see what happened in the story. स्थिराहाओ मिश्रा दुका नाभाविहा माने सर्वा गोष्ठी उद्धारीला से महाजाने. Dear Mishra, please control yourself. Do not feel sad, for that great personality has delivered all of us. Goshtite purushara yara karaya sannyasa trikoti kulera haya Sri Vaikunte vasa. When someone takes sannyas, millions of family members are promoted to Vaikunta. So Trikoti kulera haya Sri Vaikunta vasa. Okay, so he's telling millions of family members, Trikoti. When, in the story of Prahalad and Hiranyakashipu, you have all read this a million times, that Prahalad, it was mentioned that Prahalad has delivered all his ancestors, right? 21 generations have been delivered just by taking to devotional service. So a devotee can deliver all his family members if he's sincere. Now here a sannyasi, okay, a sannyasi who has left home and who has completely dedicated his life to Krishna consciousness and nothing else. Okay, he just wants to be completely surrendered, a surrendered soul who has taken sannyas. He's delivering millions of family members. And how is he delivering all of them? They are not just getting liberated. It's very clearly mentioned here, Vaikunthavas. It is not just, okay, liberated from the cycle of birth and death. They may get impersonal liberation, they may get something else. No, or they may, attain liberation after several births. Everyone attains Vaikunthavas is what is described here. If a person takes sannyas. So oftentimes sannyasis, especially, in today's world, there is so much discussion about the role of a sannyasi. Sannyasis are selfish people. They leave home, they leave their wife, they leave their family suffering, right? That's what we always accuse sannyasis of. But sometimes we have to see beyond that. We just have to see beyond the temporary situation. We should understand that when a genuine person is taking sannyas, he's actually delivering everybody around him, including his wife and children. Everybody, they all get delivered and they get Vaikunthavas. So imagine if you are related to such a great personality who has taken sannyas, who has dedicated his life for Krishna. You think Krishna will leave the people who are dear to you? It's not like that. Krishna will take very good care of the family members of a person who has taken sannyas. So sannyasis always work for the welfare of the ultimate good of all people. That is how a sannyasi is actually playing a very pivotal role in delivering so many living entities, whomever he's coming in contact with, whomever he's giving siksha to, whomever he's giving diksha to, even his own family members. Everyone can attain Vaikunthavas. So that is a great thing that a sannyasi can do. So one must not think, devotees don't think, but general idea in the world is that sannyasis, they just want to escape and they want to go away from family duties. But a genuine sannyasi never takes sannyas for the sake of escaping. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he did take sannyas under very severe pressure, but he did it for the welfare of all, including his own family members who are actually benefited from his sannyas. And not only Srila Prabhupada had to forcibly, leave home and take sannyas. There are so many other acharyas who did that. But we should not think that they did that and they left him so hard-hearted. It's not like that. It is much more, because they get a they get so many more responsibilities, and they are being compassionate to so many more living entities besides one's own family members. So sannyasis have a great role to play, and this was very evident in the life of Vishwaroop and the people in Navadvip, who many people were aware of this, and they were trying to console Jagannath Mishra in a very intelligent way. Okay, this is the truth, actually, this is the truth. So they went and told him, when one takes sannyas, millions of family members are promoted to Vaikuntha. Hena karma kari lena nandana tomara safala haila vidya sampurna tahara. Your son has perfected his education by this act. So what did we see in Navadvip? Everyone was a great scholar. They were all studying. Some people, they only adhered to scholarship for material comforts. But some others, there were some devotees as well. That scholarship helped them. That knowledge, sometimes it helps. It helps. It gives you the right intelligence to conduct yourself under severe pressing circumstances. If the knowledge is not there, one may not know how to handle circumstances. Okay, so now knowledge or reading Shastra or Shravanam also actually it enhances our practice of Krishna consciousness. So that is what we are seeing here in the next part. They are saying your son has perfected what? His education. He has perfected his education by this act. He has understood from his education that the ultimate goal of life is to serve the Lord. Ultimate goal of life is not to make yourself comfortable in this world, but ultimate goal of life is to serve the Lord, and he has perfected his education. He has understood that, and he has taken sannyas. Ananda Visesha Aro Kariteyu Ya Eta Bali Sakale Dharaye Haitapaya. Therefore, it is benefiting for you to feel even more happy than before. Saying this, they all held the hands and feet of Sri Jagannath Mishra. If a person has attained the spiritual world, okay, if a person has taken sannyas, actually, yes, we lament for the separation from them, but then one should really feel happy inside that yes, this person has perfected their life. Because ultimately, what is life about? It's a series of tests, but passing the final exam is the ultimate thing, right? Everyone has to pass the final exam. If we don't, then we're a big failure. So if someone has passed the final exam, though they are separated from you, one should feel really happy that he has passed the final exam. He has perfected his life, and not only has he perfected his life, he's helping everyone around him perfect their life. So these Navadvip Vasis were very well educated. They came and spoke from Shastra. They said it is therefore befitting for you to feel even more happy than before. Saying this, they all held the hands and feet of Jagannath Mishra. Ekola Bhushana Tomara Vishwambhara Ye Putra Hoibe Tomara Vamshadhara. Your son Vishwambhara is the ornament of your dynasty. Now they're telling Nima is with you, right? Iha hai te sarva dukha go ichibe tomar koti putre ki kabire ye putra yahara. He will eradicate all your suffering. If one has such a son as him, what is the need of million sons? Ei mata sabe bujayena bandhu ghana tatapi mishrera dhukana hoya kandana. In this way, all of Jagannath Mishra's friends tried to pacify him, but his distress remained unmitigated. Yete mate dhariya dhare Mishra mahashai Vishwarupa guna samri dhariya pasarai. If somehow or the other he regained his composure, as soon as he remembered Vishwarup's qualities, he again lost his patience. These are all natural emotions. Anyone who has lost their dear son, either lost or even if they are separated from their dear son, will surely feel these. They can understand logic, but sometimes emotions soar. But they, and in the heart of their hearts, they understand what it is. मिश्रा बोले ये पुत्र रही देखा घरे इहाते प्रमाणा mora nalayantare. Sri Mishra said, I have no reason to believe that this son will remain at home. So the rest of them told him, don't worry, Vishwambhara is with you. You have a great son. Vishwambhara is still with you. Nima is still with you. Jagannath Mishra was lamenting so much. Oh, my son already took sannyas. My elder son took sannyas and went. I have no reason to believe that this one is going to stay with me for too long. That's the truth also. That's what happens. Dilena Krishna se putra nilena Krishna se ye Krishna chandrera icha hai se. Krishna gave me a son and then he took him away. Whatever Krishna desires, that will happen. Dilena Krishna se putra, nilena Krishna se ye, Krishna chandrera icha, hereby say. Krishna gave me a son and he took him away. Whatever Krishna desires, this will happen. Right? It was Krishna's desire that Jagannath Mishra should get a son. It was Krishna's desire that Jagannath Mishra's son should take sannyas and leave Jagannath Mishra. Whatever Krishna desires, ultimately only that happens. Very clear statement. Krishna is the ultimate controller. So we cannot control things. That is the truth. We may not be able to control everything in our life. It is not possible. Try. It's not possible. It's, you can spend time worrying, you can spend time lamenting, but ultimately if Krishna has decided something, that is what will happen. What is in our control? Anyone wants to take a shot at this? What do you think is in our control?
Surrendering our minute.
How we react to it.
Yeah, surrendering. Yes. The other thing I didn't hear.
Surrendering our minute independence.
Yeah, surrendering our minute independence. 100% true, Mataji. Yes. Yes, surrendering our minute independence. And as
Panishwari Mataji said, reaction. How do we react to it? Panishwari Mataji said, yeah.
Yes, reaction. How we choose to react. External circumstances can be anything for anyone. Just because we are a devotee doesn't mean that all our sufferings are nullified. Devotees go through a lot, right? So everyone has problems. External circumstances may not recede for anyone, but how we choose to react to those circumstances is in our control. How is it in our control? By surrendering our minute independence. Both the answers together are correct. So you surrender, when you surrender your minute independence and understand everything is the plan of Krishna, Krishna takes over. He covers you, and the way you choose to react to any situation changes drastically. So you need a little bit of support from scriptures. Yes, we have to chant, but to retain our chanting and our faith in chanting, what do we need? We need the support of scriptures. And we should take the knowledge from scriptures and apply it properly in our lives. Independent of you, the living entities have no power whatsoever. Therefore, O Krishna, I am surrendering my body and senses unto you. Swatantra jivera trilardika shakti nai dehe indriya Krishna samarpilunto matahi. You have to surrender unto Krishna and let Krishna take over. Let him cover you so that the way you respond to the situation completely transforms. So surrendering your minute independence is actually a great thing. It's very difficult to do. But if we can apply whatever we have read nicely and take shelter of the holy names, it is possible to at least for some time, go and surrender. It may not be possible continuously. It comes with, it is difficult. I'm not saying it is not possible. It is very difficult to surrender our minute independence, but we can at least make small attempts, small steps. If we do small steps, that itself gives us tremendous strength. That is the secret formula that only devotees have, right? So in other practices and faith, it's all nice, but the problem is they feel a little independent in their endeavors. So when you're very independent in your endeavor, everything is on your shoulders, right? And you feel more and more responsible for every little thing. The way you respond to things are also very severe responses. But here, a devotee is very sober. A devotee has surrendered his minute independence, and the way he chooses to react to circumstances becomes very different, because Krishna's mercy flows, because Krishna covers you up. He covers you, no? Like you put a dupatta and you cover yourself, what happens? You feel a little protected, right? There is some protection that comes. It's like that. Eirupa jnana yoge mishra mahadhira alpe alpe chitta vritti karilena sthira. In this way, the most sober Jagannath Mishra, see, he's sober, gradually controlled his mind through the process of jnana. So now we are giving importance to gathering knowledge through the process of jnana. Jnana is important to retain that bhakti. But what sort of jnana? Jnana that nourishes bhakti, not this jnana that is going to lead us to impersonal liberation. Jagannath Mishra's modified form of Vatsalya Rasa that was born from physical consideration was destroyed when Vishwarupa took sannyas, and he realized that the eternal absolute truth, Lord Vishnu, was his son. Such realization frees one from the shackles of mundane parenthood and is real sannyas. Sometimes it is required. Right? It is required. Jagannath Mishra, he had definite affection for his child, right? But sometimes he had to understand that. He had to develop some jnana, the importance of sannyas, and understanding the position of his own transcendental son. So he had to do that. He namate Vishwarupa haila bahir nityananda swarupe abheda sharira. That is the story of a Vishwarup who is non-different from Nityananda Swarup, left home. So who is this Vishwarup? In the previous verse, we saw that he's the Supreme Lord also. Already we saw that, right? We saw that he's the Supreme Lord. But really, who exactly he is? He's non-different from Nityananda Swarup. How is he non-different from Nityananda Swarup? I think that is also one of the verses. Yes, there is an explanation. So actually, he's he's an expansion of Sankarshan. So we'll see more of it now. Whoever, this is the Palashruti, and then we'll see the commentary, okay? Whoever hears the pastime of Vishwarupa's acceptance of sannyas attains what? Devotional service unto Lord Krishna and freedom from the bondage of fruitive work. So congratulations, everybody. Yeshuniya Vishwarupa Prabhura Sannyasa Krishna Bhakti Haya Tara Chinde Karma Pancha. Chinde, cut off this bondage of fruitive work. Sri Vishwarupa Prabhu is Sankarshan. Therefore, he becomes non-different from Nityananda. Nityananda is non-different from Balaram. And then you have the first Chaturvyuha, right? And then from there, you have the second Chaturvyuha in the Vaikuntha region. So let's see what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati details here. He says, Baladeva Nityananda Prabhu in Mula Vaikuntha, in Mahavaikuntha has appeared as Vishwarupa in Gauralila. That is, this identity of Balaram, he appears in two different forms. One is Nityananda Swarupa, who's directly Balaram. But Sankarshana from Mahavaikuntha, he appears specifically as Vishwarupa, who is the brother of Vishwambhara or Little Nimai. So there are two different forms who come down for this Leela. One is Sri Balaram himself as Nityanand, and the other one is this Vishwarupa, who is the Sankarshana from Mahavaikuntha. If one hears the pastime of Vishwarupa accepting sannyas, he will attain freedom from the bondage of all fruitive activities. So this is our Palashruti. Sri Vishwarupa has three expansions. Okay, from him what happens? From our Mahasankarshan, who all comes? The first Purusha incarnation, who's Karanodakashai Vishnu. The second Purusha incarnation, who's Garbhodakashai Vishnu. And the third Purusha incarnation, who is Shirodakashai Vishnu. If a living entity understands these three Vishnu forms, he can attain freedom from the material concept of life. This is also the verdict of Srimad Bhagavatam. If you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, when the Purusha incarnations are discussed, this is the same thing is said. If one understands these three Vishnus in truth, meaning understand them, reality, really understand their role, not only role, but understand their greatness and develop devotional service, one can attain freedom from concept of life. And he's Adi Guru, right? Nityananda, Balaram is Adi Guru, and their expansions are these Vishnus. Their expansion is Sankarshan. So this Vishwarupa himself is an expansion of Balaram in one sense. And if one can understand the activities of Vishwarupa, what happens? One can understand what Adi Guru is telling us. You can attain freedom from all material concept of life, because that is the role of a guru. The role of a guru is to give us freedom from this material concept of life. So this is the most beautiful story of Vishwarupa taking sannyas. Now, in the next part of the discussion, which is tomorrow, we'll see some more interactions between the devotees, how the different devotees reacted, and what else happened in Navadvip after Vishwarup took sannyas. But before that, I want to read a little bit about what Srila Prabhupada says about reading his books. Okay, this is from a lecture. I will just read it verbatim, but try to hear this. This lecture was given on Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.17 in Los Angeles on June 12, 1972. This is what Prabhupada tells us. Okay, why is it so important to hear and apply that in our life, and also chant? Of course, we must chant, that is the basis, but we must also have some intelligence, some jnana, which is supporting bhakti is very, very important. And how do we get that jnana? Through Srila Prabhupada's books. So he tells us this in the lecture. So hearing is not a very difficult job, but you must hear from the realized soul. That is, satam prasangan mama virya samvidaihi. If you hear from a professional man, that will not be effective. Hearing must be from a sadhu, from a devotee, from the lips of the devotee. Just like Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. So, or even if you hear yourself or read books, you will save your life. If you simply read Krishna book or Bhagavad Gita or teachings of Lord Chaitanya, then you know, okay, as long as you are reading, the sun is unable to take your life. I repeat, as long as you are reading, the sun is unable to take your life. It is not possible for the sun to take off your life. So if you constantly read, then where is the opportunity of the sun taking your life? That means you are becoming immortal. That means you're going to become immortal. Mukunda, the Lord is known as Mukunda. He gives liberation. The soul is actually immortal. But we are mortal, meaning we have a body that dies and takes rebirth again and again. So we are going in the cycle of birth and death. If we want to become immortal, we must become liberated, right? We must become liberated. And that is when the sun cannot take away our life. People are very much anxious to become immortal. Nobody wants to die. Everyone knows I shall die. But if there is immediately some danger, fire, example, you immediately go away from this room. Why? Because I do not wish to die. I do not wish to die. Although I know I must have to die. Still, why I go away? I know that. Oh, let there be fire. I have to die today or tomorrow. Let me die. No, we don't think like that. No, I do not wish to die. Therefore, I go away. This is psychology. So everyone wants to live forever. That's a fact. So if you want to live forever, you have to take to Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness movement is important and very, very nice. Everyone wants to live. So actually, if you want to live, then you take to Krishna consciousness. And the verse confirms it. The sun is rising early in the morning. As it is rising gradually, it is taking your life. That's all. That is the business. But if you want to defeat the sun is very powerful. It is very difficult to fight. How can you fight with the sun? How can you fight? Simply by reading. So read. Simply by reading Krishna Katha, the words of Krishna. Uttama Shloka Vartaya. Vartaya means Uttama Shloka, Krishna. So this is the simple process. Do not waste your time by talking nonsense. Okay. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada talks about the importance of reading and how just by being a little attached to Srila Prabhupada's books, one can derive the right knowledge and intelligence to sustain one's faith in Krishna consciousness and continue to practice Krishna consciousness. So we'll stop here, and any questions, realizations, comments, please go ahead. And sorry for all the mistakes. Please forgive me if I overspoke. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Very, very beautiful class, Mataji. You explained all the verses so beautifully and in so much details. I really liked when you mentioned one can attain highest perfection, by chanting. It's not easy, and sometimes we are not we don't want to do it, or we're not fully paying attention and so forth. But with the, it's possible to attain perfection if we just keep doing it and practicing it. Thank you so much for a very beautiful, wonderful class. Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, if you have any questions or realizations, please go ahead at this time.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my. Was there anybody else? Oh, you wanted to thank Shivani Mataji. Please go ahead and do that.
I thanked her.
Yeah, Mataji, I wanted to. Such a beautiful, beautiful class. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas. Thank you so much, Mataji. And you know what? Before joining the class, I was reading 9.4 to 5. Those verses are together. I was reading the purports, and I was just thinking, I mean, this is my personal, it is not to what it is, it has to be, but this is my personal feeling that the way Srila Prabhupada writes purport, nobody can do that. Even, I mean, I'm referring to, our Caitanya Bhagavata. I mean, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is clarifying the points, but the way Srila Prabhupada verses touch the heart, I'm not comparing, of course, he is his guru, he is glorious, but as Srila Prabhupada says that my Guru Maharaj wrote the book for me and I wrote the books for you. And Prabhupada knew what he was talking about. And, this 4-5 verses of chapter 9 is very emotional for devotees anyway of Bhagavad Gita. But there he is giving what is bhaya, what is non-violence. The true meaning non-violence is those who, we cause non-violence by not giving Krishna consciousness to others. This kind of definitions, this kind of narration, only Srila Prabhupada can do. And every yuga has their own acharya, and Srila Prabhupada is our savior and master. At least I'm talking for myself. I don't get the feeling and love for anybody else. I mean, yeah, and that's when I'm hearing Srila Prabhupada's lecture or books that Srila Prabhupada gave us to read. I feel so much more attached, or feel, what do you say? I feel that my life is indebted to Srila Prabhupada for giving us this purports. And as Prabhupada says, is nectar of devotion, that these are his devotional ecstasy. And I even before I started listening to your class, I was thinking all this. And towards the end, you mentioned this is how Krishna, reciprocates. And I was thinking, should I say it or not? Because this will be so irrelevant. But then still you mentioned it. I'm so grateful that you mentioned about reading scripture. Many a time in classes, we hear so much about, glories of chanting, that glories of reading is somewhere lost. So I'm so grateful for that, Mataji. Very, very beautiful class. Thank you. Hare Krishna Dandavat Pranam.
Very nicely said, Anuradha Mataji. I can understand what you're saying, and that is also very, very true. Srila Prabhupada has written it for us. I mean, we are our generation and our future generations, definitely, and of course our previous generation, who are the warriors of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada has written it for all of us, and we are very mandabuddhi, so we need to be told in a particular way for us to understand, and Srila Prabhupada is the best man for that. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, I was thinking that Srila Prabhupada decoded what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had coded. So yes, thank you. Yes, thank you, Mataji.
Prabhupada decoded. Fantastic. What a nice way to put it together. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Srila Prabhupada. What a beautiful class. And I need to concur with Anuradha Mataji. I was just thinking, many of us are from India. And I wonder how many of us have any understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam before Srila Prabhupada. We've heard many stories. We've heard all the Leelas of Krishna. But to understand the true essence of the pastimes, it was only by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Because otherwise, I mean, just thinking about where we would be at this point in our life if we didn't understand. And as we think about the different books, I mean, each one of us has given us a roadmap of what to expect, as he explains that the Bhagavad Gita is first step, and then Srimad Bhagavatam talks about Krishna and his devotees, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shows how to be a devotee. So, and if we had just read these without the purports, we would just read them as a story. Another interesting story in the pastimes of so many interesting stories and quote unquote mythologies that we find in India, because even to this day, it's still a mythology for many of us still, which is a sad statement. But by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, it is being revived, and the true understanding of the Bhagavatam and through Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat is being revealed to us. So much gratitude, and yes, his divine ecstasies. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
So true, his divine ecstasies. Thank you, Mataji, for saying that. Yeah, we would all be lost without Prabhupada. Anyone else has anything to add or comment? Okay, so we can end the call here.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for a beautiful class and a very nice Valastuti. We got devotional service by hearing this particular story of pastime of Vishwarup taking sannyasa, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. And in between verses you were asking, it was very nice, Mataji.
And thank you for participating, Mataji. It gives a feeling everyone is awake. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, Panishwari Lakshmi Mataji, you want to go with that verse, and I also
started. No, that's okay. Definitely, I'm glad you did. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay.
Once again, I would like to thank Her Grace Preethi Vilasini Mataji. Thank you so much for your valuable time and beautiful association and a very wonderful, wonderful class. Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, is there no more questions or realizations at this time? With Mataji's permission and all the devotees' permission, I would like to close the call. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namah. Anant Vaishnavind ki jai, Namacharya Haridas Thakur ji ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Bhagavad class ki jai, Her Grace Preethi Vilasini Mataji ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you everyone for joining today's class. We'll meet again tomorrow. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.